Yes, and they don't want to, just kill him for the purpose of killing them,
Hmm.
like a trophy. Anyway, Sunrise on the Reaping.
I think I'm probably going to end up just putting that whole thing at the very end of the video.
Here's what we talked about before.
Yeah. So Sunrise on the Reaping.
Yes, both of
Um,
our first times reading it.
yes. You said that you didn't like it.
No. So I read the first 8 chapters in March when it came out. Hated it. I read it this time. It was a little bit more, it was a little bit easier, I suppose. I just don't like the writing style whatsoever. It feels like I logged on to AO3 and I typed in the Hunger Games all media types, and this was there as a fan made prequel for Haymitch. Even though there are some Suzanne peak moments in there, like definitely written by Suzanne, it was not. This is rated number 5 for me on our tier list.
Really?
Yes. And number 4, I think, would be Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Even though Act 1 of Ballad was amazing, Act 2 and 3 didn't shine through for me.
See, because it's hard to really rank them, and obviously this is my first time with the entire series. So if on
Yeah.
a reread, I'm sure my rankings would dramatically change. But right now, I am thinking that this would be number one.
Oh my god. Are you serious?
Yes.
You and me are wildly different because when we were ranking the original trilogy,
Mm-hmm.
I think that you said Mockingjay was number 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I rated Mockingjay number 3, and for me, The Hunger Games was number 1, just the first installment there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
But you love this.
I loved this, um, and I didn't really get that feeling from like the writing style.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, we did talk a little bit about some of the dialogue being,
A little bit off.
but and I did point this out because I do think it makes sense for specifically Beatty when he's like, "Yeah, I'm here because that's my son, and they are killing him or whatever," and he's just
And they
so
want to kill
matter of the
me.
fact. Like he is definitely autistic.
I think for me, Haymitch almost knows too much starting out in chapter 1. Like, we're introduced to Katniss, 74th Hunger Games. She knows so little, and through her perspective, we gain so much more. Gain knowledge about game makers, the Hunger Games, President Snow, the Capitol. It's almost like there's no education system coming in, and then for Haymitch starting out in chapter 1, he already knows all of the gimmicks. And then when we're walking through his mindset, he's like, oh, I immediately know how the games work. Here's who I'm going to team up with. The careers, of course, are already known because that's probably been set up since the 10th Hunger Games, the idea of the career pack. But it just felt a little bit formulaic for me as opposed to Haymitch actually discovering his world. It felt more of a discovery of friendship, like with Maisie Donner, or like a discovery of love, like what lengths is he willing to go to? And what is he willing to do to himself to make sure the Capitol doesn't turn him into a puppet?
I get that, but I mean, one, like we as the audience, this being the
Mm-hmm.
fifth book, we know how the Hunger Games works.
Yes,
And so it very much makes sense for us to not be having to go through and figure all this stuff out again.
true.
But but also Haymitch and Katniss, I feel, are in very different positions
Mm-hmm.
at the start of their books. Because Katniss, I mean, yeah, sure, she's had to she's had to watch these Hunger Games and grown up watching them.
Mm-hmm.
But she was so focused on just survival
Mm-hmm.
and making sure that her family does not starve to death,
Mm-hmm.
that it's not even really like that was a big thing. And she also didn't have a Lenore Dove to
Yeah, Covey connection there.
talk with her about like the validity of the games as a thing.
Which makes sense for Haymitch to go in on day one and be like, I'm going to tear this down. We're
Mm-hmm.
burning it down.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, spoiler alert, but I hope anyone watching this knows there's spoilers. When there's two scenes, I think. There's one scene in Catching Fire where it's Katniss's mother, Astrid, talking to Haymitch. She says, "Oh no, it's happening again," talking about the head peacekeeper whipping Gale. When Lenore Dove dies, I think it's Clerk Carmine who says, "Oh no, not again," when she's dying from this poison. And I don't know if that is a Lucy Gray reference. I don't know if it's a reference to something else happened in the Covey. I believe he says like it's happening again. Like here we have this young girl dying, like this outsider, this Covey
Mm-hmm.
outsider, District 12, forced to die at the hand of the president. I don't know what your thought was about that. Like, are you connecting that to Lucy Gray and how she ended up, or do you think this is just a singular incident and he is traumatized?
I definitely connected it to Lucy Gray because that to me, I mean, that seemed very much the point. And Snow
Mm-hmm.
is making that connection on purpose anyway when he's
Mm-hmm.
talking with Haymitch and projecting all of his insecurities, which is also really interesting because in that scene he says like, "You love her, and it seems like she loves you."
Right.
Like
He
he is
is so
clearly
insecure.
projecting. He is clearly projecting, which means that I think that's what he feels about Lucy Gray, even all these years later. That he did love her, but she never did him, which is the opposite of what was true.
Because Lucy Gray loved him and was willing to abandon her life with the Covey and something that made her happy for him and
Mm-hmm.
say, "We're going to run away, give it all up." And he was the one who left for the Capitol, for
Yes.
Dr. Gall, and for a position as an officer, as a police officer.
Yes, yes, of course, of course.
It always comes back to this.
Yes.
Hello, Harry Potter.
It's just also, uh, I don't believe that this was in Ballad. Dr. Gall is credited with uh, "May the odds be ever in your favor." I
I don't
don't
remember her ever saying that.
I don't believe that happened in Ballad. And
No.
Haymitch said that it was on a recording. There would
Mhm.
be no recordings of the 10th Hunger Games except for the one that he sees at the very end, which is also really interesting.
I loved that scene. This is one of my favorite scenes from Sunrise. Is when he sees that footage of Lucy Gray singing, and there's someone off camera reaching for her, and he starts thinking this must be the victor, and whoever is grabbing her off of the stage, she trusts them and she loves them. But also this control of knowledge, which Snow talks about a lot in Ballad. Whoever is this main authority on knowledge and education is who holds the power. So by taking away the Hunger Games or by showing people select propaganda, you control their mindset about everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I just loved seeing Lucy Gray and on the television. He's like, I started sleeping on the couch, and then they started playing the most horrific moments of the Hunger Games just for me to see. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, my heart broke a little bit.
Which is also, it's so personal for Snow, too,
Yes.
which is so interesting because he's kind of doing the same thing he did with Katniss,
Mm-hmm.
where he's like, "I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I have no reason to lie to you." And he's just like, he's letting Haymitch in to this part of his life that no one knows about.
There's almost a weird amount of trust there. He trusted Katniss to an extent too by saying, let's agree not to lie to each other
Mm-hmm.
moving forward. He is trusting Haymitch almost to not tell this story. And I don't know if it's because he knows Haymitch would never tell, or if he knows that if Haymitch did tell, who would believe him?
Mm-hmm.
Or if he knows Haymitch would be so traumatized as to never want to speak about it again. Because the next time Haymitch tells the story of what happened to him is after the 75th Hunger Games to Peeta and Katniss after the war has ended.
Mm-hmm.
Over 25 years later, he tells that story.
He broke Haymitch. And so he was just like, he was so sure that there was no chance of Haymitch spilling anything. Even though Haymitch had nothing to lose. Like, Plutarch kind of points that out at the end of the book. He's like, I have nothing to live for. He's like, I don't say it in a defeatist way, it is simply a fact that I am stating. And Plutarch says, then that gives you power.
Mm-hmm.
But Haymitch can't do anything until Katniss.
And they talk Plutarch and Plutarch and Haymitch, I believe, talk about this. I wish I had the quotes with me about how nothing was in line yet.
Mm-hmm.
Plutarch and Beatty are trying to help Haymitch, but Haymitch is not the Mockingjay.
Mm-hmm.
Which back to that conversation about Haymitch voting yes for the Capital Hunger Games, saying,
Yes,
I'm with
yes.
the Mockingjay. And it was my belief that he's not saying I'm with Katniss. He is simply with the idea of the rebellion itself, which Katniss was never really able to live up to. That was just projected onto her as a 17-year-old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it also it has that scene has more depth too because of the title of this book. Because at that point he has already effectively succeeded and kept his promise to Lenore Dove. The Hunger
Mm-hmm.
Games are no more, and yet he votes to have them continue.
I know.
So I don't think it would make sense for that to be him being like actually wanting that. Like that
Mm-hmm.
to be what he wants. I it has to be him trusting Katniss to kill Coin.
In that context, yes, that makes sense. This is yes, because he loved Lenore Dove above, I think, all else. Of course, there was his
Mm-hmm.
family there, Ma and Sid, but then he agreed with Lenore Dove's quote of "I mate for life."
Mm-hmm.
She was his one love, and he could not save her, so he had to keep that promise because otherwise, I feel like he would have committed suicide. Which suicide is directly mentioned along with rape, which I thought was interesting in Sunrise because that's been kind of offhandedly mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
especially with Finnick. He's worrying about Lenore Dove in the District 12 jail, and he's also worrying about Beatty after the game because Ampert dies. I believe he asked Plutarch if Beatty killed himself, just outright
Mm-hmm.
says it. And then he thinks that about Lenore Dove as well.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the first times I believe in the series that those two words have been said across all 5 books.
Yeah, I mean the ideas have been there, but never, as far as I remember. Yeah, it just it ends so hopeless, and then immediately goes into the epilogue when there is so much hope.
Right.
Finally.
For once in his life.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then there's the idea of Maisie Donner, which she's hated, I believe, in District 12. But about her character, I think she was born into a privileged family. Everyone in District 12, because of this capital power, they're rooting their own people against their own people. it's so easily to hate Maisily and Merrily. And so I almost as a survival mechanism, Maisily has lived up to her name. I am this mean girl. I am the mean rich girl, and I
Mm-hmm.
will bully you. I will call things out as they are, because otherwise, I have no friends. I have no connections. I don't know who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if Maisily really was a bad person, we would have seen different interactions between her and Haymitch in the games, and especially with the idea of the newcomers
Mm-hmm.
as an alliance.
Yeah, it is almost like she's always kind of been performing in the way that all of the tributes have to. They
Yes.
have to form this one thing. Haymitch is the rascal.
Mm-hmm.
He has to be the rascal, and he's constantly in the games thinking, like, hold on, what is my reason for doing this?
Mm-hmm. Because they're watching, and so is Snow,
Mm-hmm.
which
Convincing.
Katniss forgets about a lot during the games. Because we see Haymitch thinking about the idea of a rascal a lot. He's saying, I can't go find Ampert yet because the audience won't understand. How do I make sure that the audience understands my position as a rascal from District 12? And how do I tie that into the sponsorships I'm going to get? And then with Katniss, she's a lot more distracted, which I'm this is the first time this idea has flowed through my head. I want to ask you about that because the idea of the star-crossed lovers, her poster that she has to paint, that's the poster, but she forgets about it quite often. And then Haymitch would send her the soup and book one. She's like, right, that's what I'm here for.
Mm-hmm.
I needed the reminder.
I think there's a line that Mags says, which, by the way, Mags and Wyrus, crazy. I freaked out. But there's a line that Mags says where she's basically like, in the early games, I didn't ask what you wanted from the game, what the tributes wanted from the games, because it was obvious you wanted to survive. But now I'm realizing that there's more. There's more things that you could want going into the games. And that was a line that the first time it came up didn't really stick out to me. I was like, okay. But then when Haymitch like quotes it again, I started to really think about it. And it's really interesting because I think it can be a description of the series as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Because Katniss only wants to survive in that first games. That's, I think, part of why she constantly forgets about her poster. Because she's not interested in making a poster. She's
Mm-hmm.
only interested in surviving. It is by happenstance that she ends up becoming the symbol of the revolution, which is the exact opposite of Haymitch, who wanted to die as this revolutionary, never returned to the districts, but ended up surviving. But even then, like catching fire, she now has a new goal going into the games: protect PETA.
Mm-hmm.
Next games we get Ballad, completely different motive out of the games, because it's from Snow's perspective. He doesn't necessarily even want Lucy Gray to survive.
He wants the Academy Award.
Mm-hmm. He wants to profit off of her.
Because the project was how can you get the audience involved, not if your tribute survives.
Mm-hmm.
So if she died, he would have been fine.
Mm-hmm. Assuming he was able to actually achieve that goal.
Yes.
Um, and then in Sunrise, we have Haymitch who wants to break the games. We've gotten to the point where it's come full circle. Right? This is the story of the Hunger Games.
Right. And then there's also PETA, who in book one, we talked about this a while
Mm-hmm.
ago, never recorded, that PETA, if we're talking about the chronological publishing date of the books, PETA is the first one to talk about the idea of the poster without talking about it as a poster. He
Mm-hmm.
says in this conversation the day before the games, the 74th games, that he does not want the Capitol to take away who he is, and it results in an argument, almost an argument between him and Katniss, because she's saying, how could you think like that? We just need to survive. Your goal is survival, not who you are at the end, which she finally understands it when they survive and make it to catching fire and
Mm-hmm.
admits that he was right, that she doesn't want to become the capital puppet or a murdering machine. She doesn't want to do that for them anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an interesting. PETA's goal was Haymitch's goal,
Mm-hmm.
although PETA was never chosen by Haymitch.
Ouchie. PETA has some issues. Can I say his family did not value him? Katniss didn't value him for a while. Haymitch did not value him. Coin did not choose PETA, later regretted it. PETA's a warrior, can I say?
Well,
Oh my
Coin
lord.
Coin did choose PETA, but she was
Um,
outvoted or whatever. But she
oh,
only
okay.
chose PETA because she thought she could manipulate him.
Ooh, right, right. That's an ouchie right there.
Mm-hmm. Because her plan, her end game, was always to become the president.
I love the idea that we brought up last meeting for Ballad that these two dictators don't agree with really what's happening on their side. See, when we're watching Snow grow up, we see that Snow does not agree with capital values or the Hunger Games really because he's horrified. But then when he realizes that he can gain power through it, he exacerbates the problem. He makes it so large that it's now a daily part of life, the Hunger Games, that yearly event. People look forward to it. And the same thing for Coin. She doesn't necessarily have to agree with the rebellion. She just wants to be a part of her own tyranny and
Mm-hmm.
start another capital Hunger Games. So it's not necessarily about, hey, do I agree with these values? Is the audience around me going to eat it up if I pose myself as their champion?
Does it benefit me?
Yes. And
Mm-hmm.
that's always what it's come down to.
Yeah.
Also, the scene where Hamish drinks the gallon of milk. What? I was, I was reading it like, what's happening?
And
He
then
drinks.
and then for the rest of his life, Snow taunts him with milk.
Right. I flabbergasted. He was like, oh, Snow's choking and he needs milk. He's calling out for milk. Let me. Plutarch's over there. They're not looking. I'm going to drink it. Okay. He was just going to kill the president. Okay, go Hamish.
Mm-hmm. But we see in that, like, Haymitch is the first to attempt to kill Snow,
Mm-hmm.
which eventually Katniss manages to do, although
Mm-hmm.
she doesn't shoot him.
There is that conversation with Plutarch. I just lost my train of thought. No. Yes, I got it back. He's saying that he is not content in the capital, and Hamish has a problem with that line from Plutarch. He's
Mm-hmm.
saying he doesn't trust Plutarch in the same way that Katniss does not trust PETA in the first
Mm-hmm.
book. What's Plutarch's motive? I don't understand Plutarch. He's saying these things and he's doing these things, but he's capital. And I don't really know if he can side with District 12 because I don't believe it in my gut. And
Mm-hmm.
then Plutarch's like, I'm not free either. And Hamish has to spend a lot of time debunking that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Plutarch lacks freedom, which is such a weird thing for Haymitch. The idea that someone in the capital could lack freedom.
Mm-hmm. Because the capital, I suppose, for capital citizens is the idea of freedom.
But
But
they are not
you're
truly
supposed
free.
no, because you have to hop on the bandwagon. There's such a strong capital culture that if you're not a part of the echo chamber, you are a traitor, and you are district you're a district barbarian,
Mm-hmm.
and you deserve to go live like they do. If you're not supporting every terrible thing that they do.
Mm-hmm. There's a I there's a line that stuck out to me, very much a throwaway line that Plutarch says though to
Mm-hmm.
Effie when she's kind of freaking out about everything because they're not, nothing is going according to plan. And he says, never work with children or animals, Miss Trinket.
Mm-hmm.
Which is interesting to me for, I mean, like, the primary reason is because she does end up working with children. We know that. Which, by the way, it was great to see Effie.
I love her.
I love
Love
her so
that
much.
girl.
She's the best. She's the best. But
When Mitch calls her ignorant, I'm like, yep.
this book also, like, you know, during the trilogy, I was like, I understand why people would ship Hamish and Effie,
Right.
but this kind of just throws all of that away.
I brought up Hey Mitch and Effie in our first meetings because
Mm-hmm.
that's a real ship.
Mm-hmm.
If okay, can I talk about the movie adaptations really quick
Yeah.
and give you a spoiler? So in Mockingjay, Effie is not mentioned like in the book. And after Catching Fire and the original Hunger Games movie, Suzanne Collins, the directors and the writers, came up with the decision to replace Fulvia Cardew with Effie Trinket
Mm.
because Effie's screen presence was so strong with the audience. They did not, the writers did not know about Ballad of Songbirds or Sunrise on the Reaping. And so, of course, when they're making Mockingjay Part 1 and 2, and Hamish and Effie, the actors, I don't know who acted Effie. I'm so sorry, I forgot your name, babe. But her and Woody Harrelson came to the decision to include a kiss between the two characters in Mockingjay Part 2. And I haven't seen Mockingjay Part 2, but I know that it happens because I read a short article on the interaction between those two actors and what they thought of Hamish and Effie. And now reading about Hamish and Lenore Dove and reading about Hamish and his thoughts on Effie Trinket, it is so obvious that Hamish could never have romantic feelings for another person after Lenore Dove, especially not for Effie Trinket,
Mm-hmm.
which
He
is going
definitely
to
loves her, but not.
not in that way.
Well, because in the trilogy, he's very sweet to her in his own way.
Mhm.
Like, very considerate about how stressed she is about everything all the time, always. And so, like, it does make sense. But he mates for life.
Right. I
But
don't know. Continue. Sorry.
but the children and animals thing stuck out to me because to the capital, they are not really children. Those in the Hunger Games, they are just animals.
Yes.
So there was even more to it than where it stuck out to me and I was like, huh. One could argue that she is doing both
Hmm.
when she goes to work for or work in the games.
So why do you think he said that to her? What's the context of what's happening in this scene? Is she freaking out about something or like?
She, if I remember correctly, and I can try to find it, but if I remember correctly, she was freaking out because of Lulu's snake not cooperating and stuff like that.
Got it.
And Plutarch says, "Never work with children or animals, Miss Trinket."
Which makes 74th and 75th Hunger Games a lot more interesting with the idea of the animal and not cooperating because they we see a lot of arguments. I'm not going to say a lot. We see an argument between Effie and Katniss about what Effie wants Katniss and Peeta to do and how they're not responding. Because they're still people and they're children, but in
Mm-hmm.
capital I's, to, yes, like you said, animals
Mm-hmm.
that you can't control. You just need to beat it into them. Ouchie. But if you are a reader of the books and then you watch the movies, and then I think Sunrise on the Reaping, the movie's coming out 2020. Wait, is it coming out this November?
I believe so.
Okay, okay, wait, let me look this up. I will. Sunrise on the Reaping release date. Oh, wait, no, not the book. Release date movie. November 20th, 2026.
Um,
So, November of next year. If you watch all the movies and you read all the books with the new information we've gained about Effie, Haymitch, and Lenore Dove, we know logically that the actors of Effie and Haymitch did not know about Sunrise on the Reaping, and they knew about all the fans shipping Effie and Haymitch, and they changed Effie's character for the movies because of the adaptation. So the kiss, therefore, does make sense. But then if we're thinking about it as a series,
mhm,
and we're thinking about Sunrise on the Reaping and we're connecting it, we're going to say, yes, perhaps Woody Harrelson knew about Sunrise on the Reaping, which he didn't. Why would
mhm,
Haymitch and Effie kiss in Mockingjay during the war when they presumably think they're going to die? Why would that happen?
hmm. Interesting. I I mean, it's definitely an interesting question, and I believe that the context of the scene would definitely help when you watch
Yes.
the movies, which I'm really excited for. If for nothing else than just to see these characters and how they look in the movies, because I've been thinking about that, um, and how I picture them. I have aphantasia. I've talked about this, but I'm
I do too.
but I which means that my mental image of these characters is so rudimentary. Like Katniss is just her braid. That is all. That is what I that is the most that I can imagine for her. And it's a lot of hair is what I imagine these characters as.
I it's so great to be able to talk to someone who has aphantasia because when I dream, and this is really weird, like when I go to sleep and I dream, I don't see faces.
Mm,
And when I explain that to people, sometimes they think that I see a body and there's no face to it, which makes it seem like a nightmare. That's not true. I don't actually see other people or other beings. It's more like a knowledge that it's there. It's like an
mm-hmm,
echolocation. Like if you tell me to close my eyes, and this is the test, close your eyes and imagine the apple. I feel the apple,
mm-hmm,
and I I can echolocate towards that apple and feel the apple, but there's no apple that I can
mm-hmm,
see. And it's the same way when I dream, and also the same way when I'm reading a book. I can feel where a character is, but there is no physical attributes. And it's great that you said that Katniss for you just had the braid because that is kind of what it's like. Like if
mm-hmm,
someone's talking about PETA, mainly what I'm imagining is like a pair of hands.
mm-hmm.
It's that defining characteristic for him, at
Scruffy
least.
blonde hair for me.
Mm-hmm. So what are you imagining for the rest of the characters? Like what's their characteristic for you?
So Plutarch is a weird one because Plutarch, I don't have any hair with him. It is just a blob
Okay.
because I believe he's described as a like an overweight man,
Yes.
and so just the shape of an overweight man without any of the details. So it's basically just a blob. I mean, Effie is the big poofy hair, the white
Yes.
face. Um, let's see who else. Haymitch is his hair from the movies, roughly, because I
Mm-hmm.
have seen Haymitch in the movies. Um, Snow is probably like the blazer with the rose.
Got it. For me, Plutarch is the blazer.
Mm,
Plutarch for me is a purple blazer. And Snow, I think Snow and Gale are the most well developed in my mind. I know what their actors look like, but I think Snow for me is the actor's hair along with maybe the shape of the actor's face. And for Gale, I would say it's a muscular male figure. Like I can sense Gale's hair and I can sense like broad shoulders and
mm.
a tall stature.
I don't think I have anything for Gale.
He deserves it.
I mean, like, not everyone I have stuff for. I think Maisley is probably her necklaces. Um, Let's see.
You know who wasn't
Finnick?
anyone? Lulu. I didn't have anything for Lulu.
No, not really. Nor
Or
Luella.
Amber.
Like, Lulu and Luella, I think I roughly might have had. I associated it with the braid, but it
Mhm.
wasn't the braid.
Right.
Ampert might have been. Ampert, I think, was the frame of a small child.
Yes.
Um, Finnick was like blonde surfer hair that like
can I tell you
was
something
loose.
awful? I was just imagining Finnick with as like abs.
As you
Like that's
should.
but just like an objectively attractive, muscular male
Mm-hmm.
body.
No, and I have Annie was like big, poofy, wavy blonde hair, maybe curly. Like not yeah, like either wavy or
So he
curly.
described as blonde.
I always associated her with that. I don't know, which is
I
the other
I
thing.
associate Annie Cresta with red hair because for me she's red
Ooh,
hair. I don't know if that was ever stated in the books. I'm not sure.
yeah. I don't know, because that's the other thing. Is like it's I don't know.
Well, because for Mags and Wirus, both of them are in the 75th Hunger Games. I've seen I've seen Catching Fire a while back, and I've seen clips from it. Their vision in my head is the hair of the actors along with the suit that the characters wear in Catching Fire to go into the arena.
Mm,
But that's for both of them. So they're like in their regular human clothes for the 50th Hunger Games, and I'm imagining them in their Catching Fire uniforms.
I don't think I have anything for either of them, but I do have Beatty, and he is just glasses.
Yes, me too.
Um,
This is so
Lucy
interesting.
Lucy Gray is an approximation of Rachel Zegler.
Yes.
Um, and I'm not. Let's see. I'm struggling to think of anyone else that I
This is
can.
just so fascinating in so many ways because if someone who doesn't have aphantasia that can see things in their mind is hearing us talk about what we see the characters as,
Yeah.
this is a horrifying vision.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Just glasses and hair and a body figure
And Haymitch
talking.
isn't like he's not 16 in my imagination.
No,
He's
he's
got
old.
he's yeah he's got the like gray hair.
And he has Woody Harrelson's approximation.
Mm-hmm.
But for young Koryo, there is a difference for me between young Koryo and old Koryo.
Mm.
Which there is no old Koryo. Koryo, the idea of Koryo died. There is an idea of a Koryo, but he died. So when we're talking about President Snow versus Coriolanus, I do imagine Tom Blythe or some features of Tom Blythe versus the actor that played President Snow, which I'm bad at actor names. So
Mm-hmm. I do think now that I think about it, I do think I have one for Lulu. I think I was
okay,
wrong, and it's like big childlike eyes,
got it.
like innocent and just clueless.
I do have one for you, by the way, because when I think about people, or when I'm thinking of my most embarrassing moments, of course, because that is a rite of passage,
Yeah, of course.
I imagine people as the same way I would imagine it in a book. You are your concert hair from high school.
Mm.
So I imagine mostly your hair and your tall stature. The hair and the tall stature is what makes you in my mind.
I you might be you in your drum major uniform.
Got it.
So, as background for those of you that are watching this, we were in band. Drum major, drum captain. Yeah. Anyway, I feel like we haven't
Anyway,
really
talking.
talked that much about the book. There's a lot
No,
that we haven't covered. Let's see. I'm looking at my notes because there's
we've
a
talked about
lot.
the trilogy, about
Mm-hmm.
Superman, Harry Potter.
Mm-hmm. I cried with Maisley's death.
Mhm.
That really hurt, and I wasn't expecting it to. And it hurt so bad. But then at the end of the book, from like the minute that the house starts burning down, I think I cried for the entire rest of the book.
Mhm.
But one of the worst moments was um, at the funeral where Haymitch sees Marilee and calls out Maisley. He gets so excited.
Because he sees her. And then there's that scene in the very beginning where Maisie and Marilee lock their heads together, I think forehead to
Mm-hmm.
forehead, and he describes it very poetically, like the reflection of
Mm-hmm.
each other in that moment as she has to go away. But it is very hard for me as a reader to cry during a book. I think I my eyes were tingling during Sejanus's death when he cried out for his mother. And that was it.
Mm. I have cried in 3 out of 5 books, and they are also the 3 that are my top 3
Right.
because it is Sunrise, Mockingjay, and Hunger Games.
Mm-hmm. I still can't believe that that was number one for you. Moving on.
I look, I really liked it, and it just felt like such a great culmination, and obviously recency bias. I wouldn't be surprised if on a reread my rankings dramatically changed.
If you did a reread, how would you do it? Would you go 5, 4, 1, 2, 3, or would you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
I cannot see myself doing this anything but last.
Okay.
Um, I could see myself starting with Ballad or starting with Hunger Games.
Well, because there is a huge spoiler in Sunrise on the Reaping. Because, of course, I went to a Reddit forum and I was like, what order are people reading the Hunger Games in? And they were saying you have to read Sunrise last because the epilogue
Mm-hmm.
is the end of Haymitch's character arc. So to spoil that for yourself that early on destroys. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
destroy it, but it ruins what happens in 1, 2, and 3
Mm-hmm.
as a reader experience.
Yeah, and it just this to me is the culmination of the series.
Mm-hmm.
Which I mean, I guess I like endings, so it makes sense
I like
why.
beginnings.
Yeah, but um, yeah, this one it was so sad. Mags and Lyrus, that's how they ended up like that
Mm-hmm.
because of Haymitch's games. Also because like Lyrus is at most 19.
I forgot about that. I was
She
imagining her way older.
she won the 49th Hunger Games.
Right. Ouch. Okay. And she immediately got tortured, and now her brain is fried.
More of her life has been like that than it was before that.
And let's count the 2 years spent. So there's the 1 year that she spent on the games and then doing the victory tour. Then there was the 1 year she spent mentoring and got tortured, and then the rest of her life. So
Mm-hmm.
17 years of her life were free
At most,
at most.
because
If she was,
I don't know if it's
should I look
confirmed
this
how
up?
old she was. She
How
could have been
old?
16.
I'm looking this up. At the age of 16, Mags became the victor of the
That's
11th
Mags.
Hunger Games. Oh, Mags. Sorry. Wirus. Wirus. There's nothing directly on her age here
Hmm.
that I can see. But she has to be very young because they hired a 26-year-old actress. And if we know anything about Hollywood, they always hire mid 20s for teenagers.
Yeah. I mean, she could very well, in this book, be 17,
The same age
16.
as Katniss would have been after the 74th. If the Quarter Quell hadn't happened in the 75th Hunger Games, that would have been Katniss's position.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, that was Haymitch's position, but I don't think Wirus comes off as self medicating herself to forget about the atrocities that were committed. Does she ever talk about what Snow had done to her? Does Snow punish her in any way besides the torturing that she goes through for being Haymitch's mentor? Like, does she lose anyone?
I don't know if she had anyone that we hear about.
Okay.
Because from my memory in Catching Fire, I mean, she just doesn't say much.
Mm-hmm.
Because she says a lot, but it's never anything cohesive.
Because we were talking about within the original trilogy the prostitution that Snow forces young women to go through,
Mm-hmm.
or young men after their games to sell them to the highest paying capital citizen. So I do wonder in that series when it started, and if after her mentorship or during it, she was forced to do that, or what makes them a qualifier. Because
Mm-hmm.
especially for careers District 1 through 4, I think they're most likely to be seen as attractive in the capital because those are the top districts and those are the careers that are strongest. So what district is Wires? I don't know my Wires history here.
3.
And that makes it worse. I mean, we don't. You just said we don't know a lot about her character, and everything else wasn't cohesive after what happened in Sunrise.
From
But
what I remember. I mean, I've read the books once.
female or
Don't.
male tribute, except for Peeta, Katniss, and Haymitch, either had their entire family killed or became a prostitute with the threat of having their family killed if they did not comply.
Which actually brings me to an interesting. Let's see, where is it? Near the end, with the when there's just 3 tributes left.
Mm-hmm.
The I'm forgetting her name. Um, the one of his I can't remember her name, but she Maisley says that she would be a good victor, and she asks what that means. That
Can I be
stuck out to
honest?
me. Hmm.
That's like a Kato situation.
But it
Like,
wasn't. It wasn't the District 1 girl. It was
God,
the other one.
okay,
She would be a good
I may
victor.
have to reread that.
It was because there were the 3 left. It was Haymitch, the District 1 girl, and then the one that gets decapitated by the District 1 girl.
Got it. Okay.
After he leaves her, and she's like, "Don't leave me," but he does.
Oh
It
yes.
is.
Okay, I know who you're talking about.
It is. It is her. Like at some point, Maisley and Haymitch are talking about the other people alive, and she's the only one of the newcomers still alive. And they say that she would be a good victor. And then Haymitch brings that up when they meet. And she's like, "Oh, did she? What did she mean by that?"
And what does that mean for you? Like, for you, why did Maisley say that she would have made a good victor? Is it because she had? Is it because of the innocence that's there as a child, or?
Well, also thinking about Maisley's discussion with Haymitch about how one of them needs to win so that they can be the worst victor in history, which
Mm-hmm.
Haymitch would go on to do. Would it be that she is almost insulting her saying that she would just do what the Capitol wants,
Mm-hmm.
not be a disruptor.
Go on the victory tour, read the cards.
Mm-hmm. Or is there more to that? Because I'm not entirely
Be a
sure.
good victor.
Or was
At
was
face
it simpler
value,
than that? Was it just that she's a kind, she's a kind young girl. She's one of the newcomers. It's a good story.
I think at face value it could be that. But if we're thinking about Maisley saying that they would be bad victors, the worst victors, they're the ones that would become embarrassments to the Capitol. Because we know Maisley, she raises hell wherever she goes.
Mm-hmm.
She does not like when people have control over her, and we see that with Drusilla. So either Haymitch or Maisley would have done whatever they could to not have their poster painted for them, bringing back a tagline of the story. So at first reading that, it'd be easy to say, like, yes, Maisley was saying she'd be a good victor because she's kind, because it makes a good story. But she was also saying she'd be a good I think being a good victor as in she'd do
For
what
the
the Capitol
Capitol.
wants. And that's who the Capitol wants to win. They want the good victor.
Mm-hmm.
Which,
There's.
if we're thinking about the final three, Cato would have been the good victor in that point. He's killed people, and we've met him and seen his personality.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I told you about this a while ago that there's an adaptation change, a slight adaptation change in Cato's final scene where he realizes he's going to die. But he would have been the good victor. It would not have been Peeta or Katniss. And the idea that you become the capital plaything.
Mm-hmm. Which also we haven't talked much about Luella or Lulu.
No, ugh. Lulu is okay. So Luella is the original Luella from District 12, and then Lulu is
Mm-hmm.
the resurrection, but a District 12 version,
District
which
11.
brings District 11, sorry, which brings a whole new
Ruse
horror to the
District.
yes. And when they start asking District 11 about if they know this girl, they again say our district is so large, we wouldn't know. There's no way of knowing. Which is just another form of torture because Haymitch starts talking about the Avoxes. Her family must have done something to get her there. But then how many times has President Snow done this? Like artificially manipulate someone's face to look like someone else, put something in their ear, have them say whatever you want them to say, fry their brain so none of their sentences are cohesive, and teach them three taglines. Which is funny thinking about what Finnick said about President Snow, about how many people he's killed. Of course, the capital citizens wouldn't know who he's killed if he's replaced them in the same way that he replaced Luella.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
I I mean she also broke my heart. I didn't cry at her death. I called Luella's death. I
mm-hmm.
knew that was happening. Like Haymitch was just like, you and me, we're gonna make it through this, and I'm gonna protect you, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay. Well, I mean, I
So
know
you're
she's gonna die
dying,
regardless, but she's clearly gonna die before the games.
right? And that's
Um,
going to be a spark of something.
mm-hmm. But let's see. I think there's a couple very interesting things about Lulu specifically. One of them is in the talk with the District 11 kids. She starts singing what they call the Harvest Song for Kids.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is an interesting song to put in because is that not what the Hunger Games are? a harvest for children. You reap them
Mm-hmm.
from the districts and you harvest them. Like, I was like, whoa. Also, and there's got to be something with the snake.
Yeah, I was about to say, because you just brought up the line with Plutarch talking to Effie, don't work with children or animals, but then Lulu is so connected to this snake, and it becomes her personality in this interview with Caesar Flickerman.
Mm-hmm.
And that's almost how like she saves her interview with the snake, even though it kind of goes off the rails.
It is. It's such a like. It might just be a a physical representation of her connection with Snow. What Snow has done to her, because Snow is obviously associated with snakes, and Snow is also associated with poison and flowers. And wouldn't you know, that's exactly how she dies.
I love this. Wait. This is great because then when she gains that snake, the audience loves her and she's doing great in the photos. But then when we see Effie and Drusilla doing this photo shoot with Lulu, they're saying the snake is taking all of the attention away from Lulu, from this tribute. We need to
Mm,
focus on her, not the snake. The snake takes up the entire image. And then when she goes to Caesar, it's like a huge uproar. Like, look at how amazing she is. But she went from Lulu, traumatized District 11 girl who's not in her own body, to a an animal. She becomes an animal when the snake is introduced around her neck.
mm-hmm. Also, her screaming out during the interview, "You'll murder us." So what'll happen if you newcomers are successful and you manage to whittle down all the careers? You'll murder us.
Right.
Like, even though she clearly knows so little of what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
she's not completely oblivious. She understands what's happening.
And I bet she's understood since a young age.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she is young, so never mind.
She's also the Rue of this book.
Mm-hmm. I
District
was gonna
11
say
dies
Joanna
in.
Mason
Mm,
because, like, of course she's young. Joanna makes a huge fuss in her interview in the 75th Hunger Games about how they're sending her to death, even though she received the promise that if she won the Hunger Games, she would never have to return. That they're just here to kill her. And she has a large presence, I think, in her interview, even though people don't necessarily like her or like her character, because she has nothing to lose anymore.
mm-hmm.
And so I was connecting that scene, You'll Murder Us All, to Joanna's line of thought, even if Lulu is a Rue like character.
Interesting. Interesting. See, because that's the thing. Is like this book is so connected to Catching Fire,
Mm-hmm.
which is probably my least favorite
Mm-hmm.
as of now. But on a
Yes.
reread, I know it would shoot up because there's so much more to it now.
Especially with the, we said that Catching Fire, the game portion of the book, dulled in comparison to what was happening outside of the games.
Mm-hmm.
But now we have Wirus, Mags, and Beatty inside of the arena who have gained so much more character just because of Sunrise,
Mm-hmm.
which is going to make their quotes entirely different now that we have context, which some of those quotes are TikTok. So you can't read much into that, but it makes it more horrifying because they do call them nuts and bolts. And they're just making fun of Virus the entire time without having any idea what's happening. Hamish is the only one who knows, really.
And
And he
like
has to live with
the
it.
when when Mags is reaped and
Mm-hmm.
Effie goes, "Oh, Mags," because she was she was here with Hey Mitch.
Damn it. Damn it. I still love Effie's addition into this book. I was reading a lot of reviews. I'm not going to rate this a 1 star or a 2 star. It's maybe like three, 3.5 for me, just because of writing style changes and everything
Mm-hmm.
else. I think a lot of people were complaining that everyone is too connected to the story. And I think one of the main complaints was Wyrus and Mags both being Haymitch's mentor. But it makes sense to have double the mentors.
Mm-hmm.
And then also Effie being the sister of the academy student. And she added a lot to this book. So I'm glad that you're here.
I well, like, okay, complaining about the interconnectivity of everything. The characters that we know from the original trilogy, we know because they went through their own games.
Right.
And, like, I don't know. Yeah, I understand both Mags and Wyrus, like, not being, like, oh, maybe they shouldn't have both been. But, like, technically, they're supposed to have one mentor per tribute.
Mm-hmm.
They still don't have all the mentors that they need. And I'm not sure if in the other districts they also just kept it to two.
Oh,
Like
wait,
in
because
District 1, 2, and 3 and 4, where they have so many victors, like they were where they would definitely have enough.
I wasn't
I'm
thinking about that.
I'm not
Because
sure
for
if they
me, in
would
my
just
mind, everyone just gets one mentor because that's what Katniss and Peeta
Mhm.
had with Haymitch. I forgot about that. So they just gave them two mentors. That was the standard.
Yeah, because
Okay.
and then after that with Haymitch, they're not going to do one mentor from the district and then one other one. That's a little strange. So yeah, they would just keep it with Haymitch, also to punish him specifically. But yeah, after if the 75th Hunger Games was not with all victors, it would have been Katniss and either Peeta or Haymitch.
Interesting. Which, Katniss, I wonder what would have happened if the Quarter Quell, if none of the rebellion had existed, and Haymitch was still the character that he was. We're not changing any of the canon besides Plutarch's involvement with everything. What would have happened if they had gone into the arena again for the 75th, and Peeta had been the one to die, and she would have been the one to win again? Peeta's plan would have worked to save Katniss. How that would have played out, I suppose, between her and Haymitch, and now mentoring for the rest of their lives more pairs of two children.
Hmm.
If
Well, I
Katniss
don't.
would have become a
We
drunk.
did we did talk about the which she would have,
Mm-hmm.
which we get that set up, which is interesting. And I definitely think we need to talk about Katniss and Haymitch versus Katniss and Peeta, and which parallel is more important. But I we did talk about like that and the potential of what would happen if these games were allowed to continue when we talked about Catching Fire, not recorded, but still. But it, I don't think there would have been a victor because my sister,
We talked about this.
yeah,
Got it.
my older sister said this, and I agree with her. And I'm not, I we might have, I don't remember talking with you about it, but the intention seemed to be killing everyone.
To prove, because Snow's message wasn't, when he was reading the card, it wasn't that there would be a victor. It was to prove to the districts that even their strongest could not survive.
Mm-hmm. They just wanted to kill them all.
The memory's coming back now. Neither of them would have survived then. No one would have.
Mm-hmm.
And Joanna knew that, which
Like
explains her reluctance.
Joanna betrayed me. Why'd she stab me in the arm?
Right where my tracker chip was. What is she?
What's going on?
Why is
Oh,
she putting blood on my face and making me play dead while the careers who didn't team up with District 12 come through? Girl, are you dumb?
let me
I
just
really wanted to scream at her.
let me just. She's not an easy person. She's like me. PETA always says, but she's smarter than me. You sure, Hamish?
Are you sure about that?
You sure?
You sure about that?
Did you read the acknowledgments
No, I did
at
not.
the end of the acknowledgments? Uh, she says, "To all my wonderful readers, thanks for once again returning to Panem and investing in these characters and their struggles, even when you know the eventual outcome. The snow may fall, but the sun also rises."
No! I have a question for you then. Why do we as readers keep returning to the series even though we know how it ends? Well, we know how it ends in a hopeful tone. We know that the war ends. But why do we as readers, I suppose, reread a story like Hunger Games, Catching Fire, Sunrise on the Reaping, and Ballad, knowing that these characters are going to go through hell? That there is no winning, that there is no victor no matter what.
Well, I think for one, there's the like obvious answer, and like the those who just watch these things for a lot of the surface level stuff, read these things for the surface level stuff, whether it be the action, in which case they're no better than the capital citizens, or the shipping or whatever. But I think it is because of what that says, is that the snow may fall, but the sun always rises.
Mm-hmm.
We know that these characters are going to go through hell, that things are going to be so difficult for them, and that there is so much pain and suffering, and in the end, all these characters that we get invested in, that we watch get raped, we know that they're already dead, except for Hamish.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes it worth it because this series does end with hope.
Mm-hmm. And then what's your idea on forgiveness? Because I was just watching a TV show, which, Lord have mercy, I could go into a lot about this, but there's the idea of hope and the generational wave of rage. And so what happens in this story is the mother dies, and the father, in a rampage, goes on a hunt to find the mother's murderer. And when the father is no longer able to hunt for himself because he's grown old, the sons take over that job. And they continue that generational rage until at the end of the series, basically everyone dies. There is no peace to be found. They have found no forgiveness because they've been so full of rage trying to find who killed their mother that even after they find who was responsible, they can't stop. There is no stopping themselves. So I suppose, do you think at the end that they showed restraint? And like, do you think they found forgiveness for the capital, or do you just think they're holding themselves back? Do you think they're
Mm,
stopping the generational, what's it called, generational trauma?
I think they are. I think that it is. I mean, that's the PETA Gale choice.
Mm-hmm.
Do you hate those in the capital and those who worked with the capital
Mm-hmm.
for what they did, or do you accept that they are also victims of the system, that Plutarch is no more free in truth than Katniss, than Haymitch? And I think that they do. And I think that the series is pretty clear that it is it is pointless to fight the wrong fight.
Mm-hmm.
Like I I think about I mean, the Hunger Games themselves,
Mm-hmm.
major idea, and this was said in the book at one point. Like, we're all on the same side in the districts.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Lulu thing. Is like, why didn't you think it was worth mentioning to us in District 11 that she was also District 11? Didn't think it was significant. We're all on the same side here.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Capitol is so good at causing them to believe that their fight is against each other. District 2,
Mm-hmm.
specifically, like the most militaristic one. And even more than that, the Capitol citizens.
Mm-hmm.
Those like the prep team, both prep teams, those like Effie, that do care in their own way, but are still complacent in the system. Even those
Mm-hmm.
that profit from it. Because they are not able to imagine a world where there is no sunrise on the reaping,
Mm-hmm.
which is ultimately what Lenore Dove's whole point was that. Which is interesting because we were talking about the lack of creativity in like fascism with Ballad, and it became so significant here. Lenore Dove is begging Haymitch to be creative enough to imagine a better world. And I think Suzanne is doing the same with us.
I love the idea of the you. I believe, if I can quote you, the Peter Gale thing.
Mm-hmm.
That is the political idea behind books one, two, three, four, five. And it's the question of Superman as well, I think. Bringing Superman back into this.
Yeah.
And I think Superman in the end is a PETA figure. But the PETA Gale thing applies to so much larger than the book itself. But then again, Suzanne making the call for creativity, saying, use your mind to think of a better world, because I think fascist regimes are simple in their beginnings. It's just about control.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you bring in other people's ideas, it's about tampering those down and bringing it back into that box.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can think out of the box and get yourself out of it, there is a world where the sun does not rise on the reaping, or the sun rises without the reaping.
But even then, it's like it's not just that fascists are completely void of creativity
Mm-hmm.
because they're not.
We see it with Snow.
The games are the work of Snow. Like that is his, and he has formed in such a creative and like as horrible as it is, a really impressive way. He has created this system. Right? Someone
And he
had
has
to
roped all
create
these
this
people
system
to
that
it.
oppresses everyone.
Yes.
That does require creativity, but fundamentally, it is less creative to do that than to imagine a system where everyone can benefit.
Mm-hmm. Well, because we see Casca High Bottom and Snow's father, which I forget his name, of course. It starts with that simple idea. It starts with, what if we just make them fight to death and we make it a spectacle like the Roman gladiators? And then, like you said with Snow, he's made it so elaborate.
Mm-hmm.
He is oppressing the drunks and the gamblers by exploiting their mindset into the games to support it. He's manipulating the social structure. But again, it's uncreative when compared to the idea of, hey, what if we were all free? So
Mm-hmm.
Janus is like, guys, what if we were all free and we all had rights? And they're like, so we're going to hang you in District 12 and you won't be remembered. How about that? Terrifying, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So much. So many ideas going on here. You have such great commentary about all of this stuff. It just
It's just, I finished this book yesterday, and
yesterday.
yeah, And I haven't been able to stop thinking about it.
Right.
Um, but I think, yeah, let's talk Peeta Haymitch and Katniss Haymitch.
We just went completely off the rails. You mentioned that, and then for I think 10 minutes we talked about something else.
Well, I that was I kind of wanted to get back around to it
Right.
because like it very much seems like the point that they are trying to make is that Katniss and Haymitch are the same.
Mm-hmm.
And in many ways they are very similar. That's just like the text of the book. But we've mentioned this already. Peeta is the one who who goes into the games wanting to keep his dignity, keep himself, wants to go into the games and break them, although he's not given the option. He's the one who does not go into the games with the intention of surviving them.
Mm-hmm.
Katniss does.
Mm-hmm. So because we were drawing parallels between Peeta and Katniss and Finnick and Annie.
Yes.
But Haymitch did not think he was going to survive. He was willing to die to become a symbol of the revolution. But Katniss later in the series admits that maybe she thinks that if she were dead, her death would be more powerful than her survival in terms of the rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
And that it'd be better if Peeta survived because her death would be the martyr and he would just use his charms and use his public speaking ability to lead it. So in the beginning, Katniss is not at all like Haymitch, even though you can draw those parallels. But in the end, it really was Peeta who was like Haymitch in the beginning.
And Peeta is also like the one who goes last in the interviews, like Haymitch, and has a way with his words. More so than Haymitch, it seems. But
Yes.
like still, they are both the scene with the District 1 guy where he's like being held at sword point and he's like, "Well, let's don't be stupid." He like gets in his head. Like that's not something that Katniss would ever think to do.
I think it's the before and the after. The Haymitch we see in Sunrise is like Peeta. The Haymitch we see in the original trilogy is like Katniss, but the Katniss we see in the beginning is not like Haymitch. She becomes more like Haymitch towards Catching Fire and Mockingjay.
The line about seeing Katniss and that old nickname just slipping out.
Which which one? The
Sweetheart.
oh
There's so many heartbreaking lines that just like
well because in the original trilogy when he's calling her sweetheart, you kind of associate it with him being a little bit
condescending.
yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
you want to survive sweetheart like
Mm-hmm.
that, but he means it in a way and that hurts. And it's also he was friends with Murdoch. He was friends with Murdoch Everdeen and he pushed Astrid and Murdoch away. And now he has to coach the vision of Murdoch through the games, the very Murdoch he pushed away and who he wasn't connected with, and then he died. And he could do
With
nothing about it.
Luella's braid, Maisley's pin, which I feel we should talk about all of the Katniss of everyone. Everyone is Katniss. Lucy Gray is Katniss, Lenore Dove is Katniss, Luella is Katniss, Maisley is Katniss.
Can I ask you though, what character? I believe I asked you this before. I forgot. Which character do you resonate with?
Peeta.
Okay, and I believe you said that last time. See, I need you to say certain key phrases sometimes, and then the memory comes back. That's how it works from time to time.
Who do you most resonate with?
This is hard. It's not Lucy Gray or Snow. It'd be fun to be like,
I
yes,
hope it wouldn't be Snow.
I
No,
hope it's not
I'm like the
Coriolanus Snow.
dictator.
Right.
He's
That'd be
so me.
terrifying.
Big.
Please cut me off if I ever say that. I don't. mm, I don't see a lot of myself in PETA. I'm gonna have to think about this because I could say Katniss. I believe that's the easiest choice because I told you when I'm reading a book, it's
Mm-hmm.
easy. It's so easy for me to want to support the main character no matter what, even though Corio was a pain in the ass. So, and I had so much hope for him, even though I knew how it ended. So it's easy for me to say Katniss and Haymitch, even though I think I have to do some self-analysis and see why am I saying that? Like, what traits of mine actually align with theirs?
Hmm. I do. I think it's interesting though, looking back on the series now and my journey with Peeta.
You did not like him at first in the
I
first
hated him.
meeting.
I couldn't
You were
stand
so
him.
suspicious.
Yeah, I couldn't trust him because I was reading from Katniss's perspective and she didn't trust him. And there was, to be fair, some weird stuff. Like at the end of the book when he gets all mad because she was faking.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, it is a little understandable that he got mad. But, like, I don't know. That was kind of the whole point.
I think I found it so interesting that you were suspicious of PETA because when I first read it, this story is marketed as a love story with the love
Mm-hmm.
triangle and the PETA Gale thing. So when I first read it, of course, I was reading it as a romance novel and I was enjoying it in that way, which is terrifying. I want to slap myself for thinking that ever. And for reading the book, being like, oh wow, Pete is so hot. Like, what is wrong with you? He is 16. Of course, I read it when I was like 15, 16. The amount of change that's happened over that time period is crazy, by the way. So I was reading it as a romance novel, knowing that PETA was sex symbol slash love interest. So of course, when he's first introduced, no matter what Katniss thought, I was like, well, they're gonna end up together, so I might as well like find him cute.
Hmm.
It was just so bad. It's so embarrassing.
No, I got so into Katniss's, like, just anxiety about everything. I can't trust
I'm
anyone. They're all trying to kill me.
Yeah, because you were so into her thought process that you started projecting on the PETA. You were like, I don't trust what he's saying. I don't
Uh-huh.
know what his motives are. I don't know who he is. And I was like, what's happening?
Yeah, because he seemed sweet, but Katniss was sure that he wasn't, and I was like, I'm gonna trust Katniss.
This is hilarious, by the way.
But instant, like catching fire, instantly changed my mind on him.
There's that scene I brought this up a while ago with PETA and Finnick. He's like, you know, if you crush what is it? If you crush coal, it turns into pearls. And Finnick is like, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. And Finnick does not care. It turns into diamonds. But that was the line that Effie Trinket used. Effie Trinket was in the capital like, well, if you crush coal, it turns into
Mm-hmm.
pearls to try to get them their sponsors.
I love Finnick so much. He deserved so much better.
I just watched an interview with Sam Claflin. I might be pronouncing that wrong. He played Finnick, and someone made him rewatch his first scene coming on the screen as Finnick O'Dare. He was cringing so hard. He was like, I can't watch this. I can't. Because it's all this suave, suave and charm and muscles and a younger self. He's like, I don't want to watch this. I'm so embarrassed,
Hmm.
which is interesting.
That's actually Katniss Haymitch and Peeta Haymitch. Katniss is framed as innocent,
Capital standards, yeah.
and I don't believe Haymitch is. I mean,
No.
even putting aside, like, I mean, obviously they're both doing illegal actions every day to
Mm-hmm.
survive. No, he
Well, I
is.
think
Yeah, he has a
for.
girlfriend. Also, because we talked about this in Ballad,
Mm-hmm.
Snow's use of the phrase "my girl" is gross,
Oh, of course.
but it's fine here.
Yeah, wait, yeah, it is. Because we. Yes, because he says, my girl, it's an admiration.
Mm-hmm.
When I love someone, like if I'm talking about my brother, I don't say that's my brother as an ownership over my family members. I say
Mm-hmm.
that's my brother as an admiration of who he is and who he's built himself up to be over these last couple of years. The same thing for me. So when Hamish is talking about Lenore Dove and saying my girl, it is filled with so much love, and it's showing how much she supports him, how much they support each other. It's a
Mm-hmm.
working relationship. Whereas with Snow, it's that's my girl. It's like a dog collar that
Mm-hmm.
he's placed on her.
It was so interesting though, because it's the same two words, but out of the mouth of one character,
Mm-hmm.
it makes my skin crawl, and out
Mm-hmm.
of the mouth of another character, it is sweet.
I didn't even think about it because when I highlighted parts of Ballad where Snow was calling Lucy his girl, and I was repulsed. And then I didn't even notice it in Sunrise on the Reaping because it was just that normal. That normal for him to refer to her in that way.
Mm-hmm. And also part of it, I think, is Haymitch being a a common person from the districts.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, it sounds like something he would say. Snow using that phrase can only be possessive.
Right. And then just looping back to Katniss's innocence because we're just talking about Finnick. When she first meets Finnick, he's of course near naked. He's flirting with her. Katniss did not have the time for boyfriends or
Mm-hmm.
for those kind of romantic interactions, and we've talked about her asexuality. Peeta did, however. And was this a conversation between Katniss and Gale or Katniss and Peeta where she's like, how many girls have you kissed? And I think he had time for girls, but he said he was just interested in Katniss.
I think it was Gale.
Okay. That freak. I hate that freak.
I never liked him,
I'm gonna get I hate Gale tattooed across my forehead.
but it was a different one. Like I mean, they both rubbed me the wrong way in Hunger Games.
Mm-hmm.
But PETA because it was I didn't understand the difference between the way that he was acting and the way that he was being described by Katniss,
Got it.
and it was messing with me. Gale just from the beginning, something about the way that he talked and his actions rubbed me entirely the wrong way.
Well, there was Gale and there's Lenore Dove in these opening scenes. And Gale, we're talking about Lenore Dove is begging Haymitch. I don't think she's actually begging him. She's asking him for creativity with the sunrise on the reaping and the idea that
Mm-hmm.
there are better days ahead. Gale mentions about the same thing with Katniss, but it's so much different.
It
And
is.
in that scene, he's saying, imagine a world where we could have this, where we could run away. But I don't think he's begging her for creativity or to imagine a world where it's better. I think he's just imagining a world where he can have free ownership of her. without
Yeah.
any distractions.
Let's see if I can find anything. We can do it, you know. Gale says quietly. What? I ask. Leave the district, run off, live in the woods. You and I, we could make it. I don't know how to respond. The idea is so preposterous. Like he just brings it up out of the like completely out of the blue. Yeah, and then later on, uh, he's like, if we didn't have so many kids, I never want kids. I say, I might if I didn't live here. Says Gale, but you do. I say, irritated. Forget it. He snaps back.
What a manipulator. I love that when you're reading this, Katniss has a deeper voice than Gale.
Does she?
When you were reading it, yes. You were like, let's see if I have a piece of paper here. You were reading it like, I might want kids one day. I know. Gail has a slightly higher pitched voice when you just read it.
I wonder what that says
About
about
your favorite characters.
how I view the characters, and I don't know what it does.
Katniss does deserve a gritty voice though. When I was listening to the audiobook, the woman who read it, wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't sound like a teenager, which is like the point. It's not the point because she's a grown woman, the person who read it, but it is accurate.
I have this line from the epilogue that I just have to read. I didn't want to let them in, her and Peta, but the walls of a person's heart are not impregnable, not if they have ever known love. That's what Lenore Dove says, anyway.
Tie that back in the snow.
That's kind of what I was thinking as well. The
Snow's never.
walls of a person's heart are not impregnable,
Mm-hmm.
not if they have ever known love, anyway.
But Tigress loved him.
Exactly.
It makes me mad. He There's this lyric from Stevie Nicks. I'll have to read it so I can be as accurate as possible. But Snow did not let Tigress love him. Let me look up the song really quick. See if I can get this up. And maybe I'm going to make you listen to this as a song from like Tigress's perspective singing to Snow.
Well, because I think that is the context of the line. Is it's not from someone else. Hamish is not talking about being loved. He is talking about loving.
Yes. And the lyric here says, this is from Silver Springs, Fleetwood Mac. It says, time casts a spell on you, but you won't forget me. I know I could have loved you, but you would not let me.
Mm.
That's what I thought of.
Throughout this book, I mean, obviously, we know that Lenore Dove does love Haymitch, and we can obviously see that. But the focus is always from Haymitch's perspective on how much he loves her,
Mm-hmm.
which is great.
And it's the flip with Lucy and Corio.
Yeah.
His entire thought process was, does she love me? How much does she love me? I think she needs me, but how much does she need me? I think she needs me in her life. Everything he thinks about of her is not that I love her. It's I want her to love me. I want her world. I want to be her son.
Which is also Gale's view of Katniss.
Oh, ew. Ew, ew, ew.
I need her to love me. And Pia is more so just focused on loving her.
Notice that it was as soon as Peta came into the photo that Gale kissed Katniss. I don't think there were romantic feelings there because we again talked about Gale being asexual, perhaps, and saying that there was he wanted her world to revolve around him, and there was no romance needed because it already did. And so now we have a romantic love interest introduced by the Capitol in the games. Gale now sees it as a threat to his power over her mind, and he's now posed himself as a romantic interest.
Mm-hmm.
I'm disgusted.
So if you know love, if you have loved, your heart is not impregnable. No matter how hard you try to shut yourself off, no matter if you throw rocks at your friends to get them to stop talking to you, you are not immune to the effects of love because you have already loved.
Mm-hmm. On that note, I do have to leave soon. Like,
Okay.
I'm leaving the house at 3 o'clock.
Okay. Very
It is
soon.
3:48.
Well, then I think, I don't know. Um, if there's anything else, I could look through my notes and find something, but Mockingjay Snake, what do you think about this?
About this cover.
About, well, I mean, it is the Flint Striker, but
Mm-hmm.
what do you think about the symbol? Because Ballad has the snake and the Mockingjay, and they are
Mm-hmm.
together, but they are looking in opposite directions. They
I
are
was about
going
to
on
say,
different
notice how they're
paths.
not striking each other yet.
No, they are together, but fundamentally like opposed, right? Lucy Gray and Snow are not on the same page. They are moving in opposite directions, even
Mm-hmm.
though they are together. But here, they're together and attached, but also
Mm-hmm.
striking each other.
What do the Hunger Games books look like? When does
Um,
Katniss's Mockingjay start attacking? Okay.
this one, it's the pin, it's the symbol. Catching Fire has it basically in a sight.
I was about to
She's
say in
under
flight.
attack.
Got it.
And then this one, she is breaking free.
I'm gonna need to think about this. Oh no.
Because
Because who was the Mockingjay in Sunrise?
is it Haymitch or is it Lenore Duff? And see, part of me earlier in this in this meeting, thinking about Lulu and her connection to the snake. Part of me thought about Lulu and Maisley being connected to Haymitch, but they're very adversarial in this cover. Because
Mm-hmm.
Maisley does have the Mockingjay symbol, although she doesn't bear it.
But Maisley's also. I talked about her defense mechanism. She pushes everyone away because no one wants to be with her in District 12
Mm-hmm.
because they all hate her as a condition. I don't think Haymitch is the Mockingjay. He's not.
I don't think that makes
That's
sense
just a
either.
fact. But Maisley and Lulu, the striking pose doesn't make sense for the
The
both of them.
striking pose
It
doesn't
makes
make sense.
sense for Lenore Dove. Lenore Dove wasn't really connected to Snow unless he wants to make that last move on the Covey.
Could it just be like a general thing? Like this is the story of the snake and the Mockingjay, and this is the story. Like in the trilogy, we focus on the Mockingjay,
Mm-hmm.
and in Ballad, we get the origin of the snake.
Mm-hmm.
And so here we get development with the snake, but we also get the Mockingjay. It's the connection that's strange to me. Why are they the same? Because that
If
would
this is
almost
a
suggest to me that they are the same character. Like if Haymitch were the Mockingjay, then he would also be the snake, and it is his decision. But I'm not sure if that really
Let's
fits.
say let's say Haymitch is the Mockingjay, though we know it's not true.
Mm-hmm.
Ballad, in that cover, we see the introduction of the snake and the bird. Neither of them are in striking pose.
Mm-hmm.
It makes no, it doesn't. Damn it! I'm not sure because I don't know who the Mockingjay represents in this idea.
Mm-hmm.
You are so pixely, it's crazy.
That's
You look like a Roblox character right now.
that's really funny. I can see. I mean, my camera quality on my laptop is not great, but I am not very pixely on mine. Nor are
Your
you.
your your eyes are like two big black boxes.
It's awesome. It's awesome. I don't know. I Yeah, no, I will continue to think about this. I suppose also, I guess we can see what the comments have to say.
Oh, true.
Um, but I suppose if you have to leave, then we should wrap this up. We did not do an outro last time. I just ended the recording, and it was really funny.
Oh no.
We didn't. There was like no semblance of like. It was so abrupt, so strange. It was great.
That's
Um,
wonderful.
yeah.
I
So
believe I'm still recording, so I'm gonna stop.
okay. Well, that was
Got it.
Sunrise.
Okay. Okay, first off, before we even start about the book,
Mm-hmm.
what did you think of Superman? Because I just watched it a day ago, 2 days ago.
I loved it.
Okay. I rated it 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd. But that was because, hear me out, it was at some points a little bit too goofy for me.
Mm.
Like, we had Lois and we had Clark and we had their relationship. And they have this huge argument, which could be built on. And then she's like, well, we got in an argument and he told me he loved me. And then there's that funny scene with Mr. Terrific and his flying sphere.
Mm-hmm.
That could have been something more. And there were also more goofy moments. Like, it's much better than Zack Snyder and what he did with Superman, where Superman kills a whole courtroom of people and he doesn't care at all.
It just stands there. Yeah.
So I did a 4 out of 5, but I did enjoy it.
I think it could have been longer.
Well, in the beginning, we have this drawn out plot line with Baravia and Lex Luthor.
Mm-hmm.
I almost would have appreciated more politics in the movie, which sounds silly because James Gunn was like, this movie isn't about politics, it's about kindness and hope. But politics is the main plot of the movie if we're talking about a Middle Eastern conflict.
That is funded by a billionaire.
Right. And we had all these press meetings with the president of Baravia.
Mm-hmm.
I would have loved to see more manipulation. And also more on Lex Luthor because it feels like he has a lot of power in the beginning and then suddenly he's this wimpy guy. He was always the wimpy guy. But more plot development for him. But I did love Nicholas Hoult.
Mm-hmm. No, I. All the performances were great. Jimmy Olsen was a highlight.
Mm-hmm.
Just that
He
whole.
was wonderful.
I love also that, Lois's plot was saving Superman.
Mm-hmm.
That was great. And Eve, just being like the MVP of the movie.
I know, and they're like, I think one of the funniest parts was when Eve sends Jimmy all those selfies,
Mm-hmm.
and Lois Lane is like, how do you get these women? Where do you find them and why are they obsessed with you? And that was hilarious. And his contact name for her in his phone is Mutant Toes. I was
Yeah.
like, Wow. Okay.
He is so not interested in her.
Oh no! And at the end, she's like, "We can be together forever." He's like,
Mm-hmm.
"Um, okay, I guess."
He's like, all weekend?
Right. He
You have to
does not care. She's
sacrifice
like, "You
my
only want me
weekend?
for the info." Right. I love her
He
though.
kind of sucks, but in a really funny way.
Right. Because we're laughing and crying for both of them. Like poor Eve thinking that she can be with this guy, but also it's just hilarious knowing what situation Jimmy is in with a
Mm-hmm.
person like Eve.
Yeah, because I mean, like, it's not his fault that he doesn't like her.
Mm-hmm. I don't think it's her fault that she likes him. I think she's just an obsessive person.
Mm-hmm. I just really love the whole kindness is punk rock motif.
Yes, that was the whole movie. Punk rock is kindness. The real
Mm-hmm.
kindness is punk rock. Superman is like, I'm a punk rocker. Lois is like, no, you're not. Yes, he is.
Mm-hmm.
That was the whole message, bro.
Respect, love, kindness, these things are inherently countercultural.
Well, I just saw Ben Shapiro's videos on Superman. He
I
posted three of
watched
them.
that. Yeah, I watched his review. I didn't watch any of the other stuff.
He posted a video on how stupid he thought the trailer was.
Mm-hmm.
Then he made two more videos on analyzing the actual movie of Superman. And his statements are so contradictory from each other. He's like, this movie is so political and woke. And then in the next video, he's like, this movie is not political at all. But his main message was that it's woke. But the new Superman movie is not woke. It's a movie about kindness and hope. And Superman is an American hero, which David Cornswet said. It's not an anti-American movie. So saying that it's woke and anti this, anti that is just saying that you are anti good moral values. And that's the real bomb. That's the real message there.
It's just a movie about how it's good to be kind. And Ben Shapiro was like, "This show is so stupid. Yeah, no, Superman should be." He's like agreeing with Lex Luthor.
He should kill a courtroom full of people.
He should be restrained. Like super. He said, "Oh my gosh, that was one of the things he said." It was like, Superman is only good because he is American. Because Lex Luthor would be right if he wasn't. Because this person with godlike powers that can do whatever he wants needs to be restrained by American values specifically.
So there's a lot of issues in that. For
Mm-hmm.
one, he came with those values. I think born into him. That's a part of the culture of. Well, we learned in the movie that the message from Krypton with his parents, the other
Mm-hmm.
half was destroyed, and then it comes out that they wanted him to take control of Earth,
Mm-hmm.
which Clark did not want to do whatsoever. But I think those good values would be in Clark no matter what, even if he didn't have that message from Krypton. He could have landed in Europe and still been the same Superman. Yes, he's an American hero, but he could have been a French hero and still been just as great.
Mm-hmm.
He is good at his core.
Mm-hmm.
It is not your affiliation.
Which is the point
So
of the
that's
movie.
interesting. Right. And then there's that whole scene about him being an alien and then he's not being read his rights because he's an alien, which they're both talking about. He's literally an alien and politically he's an alien. He's like, but I'm human. But they don't know that he's Clark Kent. So they don't know he was adopted in Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Very interesting.
It was a very interesting movie. Um, and I'm excited. I'm really excited for Supergirl.
I know. I loved her entrance. Drunk Supergirl? Yeah. Give it to
Mm-hmm.
me.
Icon. Just like I didn't even really know of that about Supergirl. I think before the movie, like what that was coming out. But
Mm-hmm.
now I'm so ready.
Well, yeah, because I looked it up afterward. Because she's played by Millie Alcock, who I love, because she was in House of the Dragon, which is the Game of Thrones spinoff, and then she was just in Sirens on Netflix. She's a wonderful actress. I looked it up, and it was like 2026 Supergirl. I was like, "Yo, like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
we can do this. We can do this." And I think David Cornswet is coming back for that.
That'll be awesome.
I hope he doesn't steal the show, but
I feel like it'll. I don't know.
it would be very easy for the movie to accidentally become focused on him and not her.
Yeah, but I trust James Gunn,
Yes.
especially after Superman.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm excited. We gotta wait a year though. So.
We know. We have to wait another 2 years for Batman 2,
Mm.
which is
That one.
James.
That one I'm not. I liked the Batman,
Mm-hmm.
but I prefer the campy and silly stuff.
I do like the darkness that Batman brings. I want a dark, gritty hero, but there was a scene in the Batman where he goes on this highway rampage trying to find the Penguin. I believe he kills, I believe, at least 100 people in that rampage, and it had no real purpose
Mm.
in the movie. If you're looking at the plot and what his rampage achieved, it was nothing. And the point is that he's becoming Batman, so he's making mistakes, but it was very out of character. And it was like, he wouldn't do this. And that's why Zack Snyder's Superman Man of Steel didn't make sense. Because that was an out of character Superman. These men aren't going out and just killing people to get one villain. They're finding every route to not kill people to get the villain. Because that's what the villain wants.
Yes. Superman and Batman both fundamentally want their villains to become good.
Yes. And they don't want to, just kill them for the purpose of killing them.
Mm-hmm.
Like a trophy. Anyway, Sunrise on the Reaping.
I think I'm probably going to end up just putting that whole thing at the very end of the video.
Here's what we talked about before.
Yeah. So Sunrise on the Reaping.